hola, 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 hola. Hola, hola, hola. Hola, hola. Sí, hola, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, Hola, 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 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, hola, 1, 2, 3, hola, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hola, 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 1, 2, 3, hola, 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 oh, oh. Hola, 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 hola.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this second session of Madrid platform. So welcome. Here we're in the downtown Madrid. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening for those of you who are listening to this streaming. There's a hashtag for this that you can share what you're saying at this International Congress. Hashtag Madrid platform. We want to thank all of you because we are complying with all of the measures of safety measures against COVID. So again, welcome to Madrid platform. This is the first international hub between Europe and Latin America. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship today. And we're going to talk about entrepreneurship, re-entrepreneurship, and recycling or on-the-job learning. This is about young people who are putting together companies, but since we're going to hear from our experts now, many times entrepreneurs have to become entrepreneurs because they might have these structural changes in their companies or they're adapting their business models. I'm not going to go on here. I would rather have each one of the panel members talk about their entrepreneurship. This has been promoted by the Martin Molina Lawyers Group and the group called Reciclaje, which is the Spanish Confederation of Associations of Young Entrepreneurs. So we're going to talk about entrepreneurship and re-entrepreneurship today. So I would like each one of you to introduce yourselves. Fernando Bendito, he's the director of SEAGE, which is the Spanish Confederation of Young Entrepreneurs. We're going to have just a short video just as an introduction to today's session. It says, get some information at your entrepreneurship office. This is the office of the entrepreneur. And here you see some information about training. Here they talk about all of the tools that you'll need in this one-stop shop here. This is the observatory, the Entrepreneurship Observatory page. Hello. Good afternoon. I'm from the SEAGE group. First, I'd like to thank Madrid Platform for the opportunity to be here at this forum, which I think is unique, it's necessary, and shows that business in a big, open economy is necessary to have a forum like this. So congratulations and thank you to Martin Molina, who have had this economic vision of the way the world works economically. I would also like to thank this panel because I'm here with three big entrepreneurs and three great friends, both personal friends and from the SEAGE. These are three people who have always supported young entrepreneurs, and we'll talk about all of that in just a minute. But they've always remembered the importance of entrepreneurs and the importance of the contribution made by young entrepreneurs to the economy. It's also important to remember that when this all began, it was during the pandemic, a meeting that we had, a telematic meeting, a remote meeting, and Pedro Martin Molina, I want to thank him because he realized how important it was not only to help entrepreneurs in this process, but also to help them to retrain, to know that they always had to be changing and adapting, especially this past year. Some companies, unfortunately, were lost, but that's part of the nature and the DNA of the entrepreneur is to know how to adapt to change. And therefore, it's not just entrepreneurship, but re-entrepreneurship and retraining. So these are the important Very important points. I also want to stress that Pedro Martín Molina, he doesn't need any presentation, I think. He's a doctor in law. He's a benchmark in helping companies and accompanying companies, not only when they're having difficulties, but also before that, during times of change and adaptation to a new context. So this office that was created together with Pedro Martín Molina, with his law group, is important to bear in mind that this accompaniment focuses on different areas of entrepreneurship, and therefore I think this is the best forum to present this initiative. And I'm going to give the floor now to the expert who can talk to this issue right now, Pedro Martín Molina. Good morning, everyone. I'll take my mask off to speak as I was instructed. Thanks very much, Fernando, for your kind words that I think were heartfelt. There are many people better than I that can talk about what I'm about to talk about. So thank you very much for those words. Now, I want to take the next couple of minutes to tell you why we are here. I'm going to divide my talk into three parts. The first is why a Latin American observatory. What is the intention of that observatory? Second, the crisis is here. We have a health, economic crisis, and it's a time now to be entrepreneurs, or as Fernando said, or to become re-entrepreneurs, because we all needed that retraining at some point. The avalanche of layoffs and in the banking sector and the textile sector, we need this recycling or retraining, because at age 50, where am I going? Now, talking about the observatory, we had a project, it was called the ERE project, which is entrepreneurship, re-entrepreneurship, and retraining. This program began during the pandemic, and those that know me know that I like to be an entrepreneur. I like to take a risk. Being an entrepreneur means taking risk. These are opportunities, but they're not easy opportunities. So we need to take risks. And we wanted to accompany companies in this trip, both at national level and in Latin America, to support new ideas that emerge, work on them, provide advice to develop entrepreneurs. Fear of change. Why should I change business, or why should I change sectors? And now, what do I need to do? That question is, I need to retrain. I need to begin again. Now, within that, we have the biggest difficulty, which is the legal framework and the tax framework. We want to initiate ideas, organize them, carry them out, but we need to know the legal framework to be able to do this, everything legally. Now, within that framework, we need to establish a Latin American legal framework. So entrepreneurship knows no borders. And to be re-entrepreneurs in the same sector or in a different sector. And retraining to retrain maybe in a different sector. I worked for a long time in banking. I needed to retrain myself, not in banking, but in those other aspects, such as tax, being a tax advisor and so forth. So they retrain people so that they can find their new business, and a financing framework. And here we have new financing alternatives, not just the classic or traditional banking financing, which is important, but others as well. In our foundation at the observatory is to help with this financing, this aid, to create a lobby in the different states and governments to get them to support ideas. In Spain, they said that our talent is leaving because we're not investing, because there's no aid. And so we need to provide this, keep this talent here, the talent, the entrepreneurship talent, to improve this society. So Martin Molina has become the centerpiece of this. When it initiated this new project, it needed to be accompanied with good organizations that believe in the same project. And if they're friends, that's even better still. And as Fernando said, in the world that we're in now with the pandemic, this idea has started to bear fruit, and today that tree that we planted is flowering. And this entrepreneurship, we tried to do this global consulting, these young entrepreneurs under the umbrella of our organization. We help them. In Martin Molina, we want to accompany young people in this whole process. And in other words, we would stand to the side and give this legal, tax, and financial support to them, because entrepreneurs have to develop their ideas. They're the experts in their idea. So with that purpose in mind, we created this place, this observatory, where we're going to involve different countries. We know that entrepreneurship in Colombia or Ecuador or in Mexico or in Spain have a lot of things in common, but we do need involvement of the countries. And each one of these, if we can reach kind of a meeting point for people that assume risk because they want to become entrepreneurs, then this is the place to find that support. And we don't know exactly how far we will be able to take this. Now, crisis. How do we define a crisis? We're in a crisis right now, and we can look at this from different points of view. A social crisis, first of all, because we find that the impact in each country is affecting the society in general, the workers. Economic crisis, because we don't have the same profitability that we had before. The investments don't have the same profitability. Legal crisis. Well, tomorrow we'll announce another new foundation, which is the Latin American Institution of Financial Structuring. Now, what are the legal battles during our crisis? The famous pre-bankruptcy, the situation where many individual or one-person businesses have had to close due to COVID, or due to the economic crisis, or for legal or tax changes. That means that they had to change their model. And we'll talk about that tomorrow. Or management, or a situation of crisis, where that could result in a deterioration of the bottom line. The market might have changed, or the competitive situation, lack of liquidity, lack of financial support. Now, this financial structure, whether good or bad, could cause the business to crumble. Now, if I become further indebted and more financial costs, then I might not be able to survive. And that's where we need to prevent this financial strangulation situation. And when there are symptoms of crisis, we need to be aware, because the situation could deteriorate. I might want to develop all of my different lines of business, but maybe I should close certain lines of business and where we're losing money. There's times of instability where I have to recognize that there are certain difficulties, and I detect this competitive position, or this lack of liquidity could create problems or dangers in my business, and I might have to then restructure. This is when I have to take decisions, and those decisions are difficult to take, especially when you're taking them for the first time as a business, as an entrepreneur. We need to put ideas into action in a small business. Also, there are indicators like financial solvency. We might find with a decline in turnover, sales go down because of the crisis. It's a short-term crisis, but it's a crisis all the same. And the adjustments need to be made. There's a lack of liquidity. Not only liquidity problems, but also we become more indebted to save the company, so there's not enough liquidity, or the re-entrepreneurship might not be profitable. Therefore, this lack of liquidity has to be, we have to see this not at the time of payment, but there has to be a treasury plan. My lack of liquidity at 3 months or 6 months or less than a year. Negative operations, for example, or when the financial costs are greater than the operational profits, then that means there's more debt, and the company cannot handle that. And if I have a very high debt coming due, then I have to see what I'm spending my profits to pay off my debt. Now, the causes of the crisis, are they external or internal? External cannot be controlled. They could be economic factors in periods of crisis. That's when mistakes are made. In times of bonanza, there are no errors. The competitors arise, then you have unions of different companies, mergers, you have price wars and so forth. So how do you reinvent the companies during those times? I'm not talking about government decisions here. I'm talking about the decisions made by the entrepreneurs. And then another factor are the new technologies. Now, the new technologies, those companies that, due to the crisis, maybe have been able to digitize and look at these new alternatives, and maybe they've had to do that to not lose competitiveness. Now, the initial cause or the root of the crisis are usually internal: poor organization, poor positioning, and not being able to look towards the future, not to be able to plan for the future. Internal causes, there's many. High costs, financial issues, deterioration of inventory, lack of equipment or obsolete equipment, and a radical lack of cash flow budget. There's no analysis of the balance sheet of the companies and the profit and loss statement. And now let me talk about re-entrepreneurship, that restructuring of companies. What does that mean? Well, we have to take decisions during our crisis, but the decisions that we take are not going to be necessarily the best, but they need to be adapted to the opportunity that the instability has provided. We need to revalue our business model. This reevaluation would be a whole set of actions based on certain specific characteristics at a point in time. Now, how do I know what business plan I want to implement? They have to be profitable. We have to do evaluation, and they have to be profitable. And have to decide to close or to sell a certain line of business. Is that bad? No, that's being smart during a time of crisis. Once you've analyzed the different business lines, we then get into the types of products or the types of markets where I want to be. What markets and what customers will be selected depending on the profits that I have and the products that I'm going to sell. We need to channel the customer base and so forth. And that's what we're looking at in the observatory, not the foundation, because the observatory, that's where we want to analyze entrepreneurship, re-entrepreneurship, and retraining, but also by sector. There are some sectors are stronger. Maybe we should become entrepreneurs in specialized lines in each sector, and there we have an idea that we're going to launch in the observatory of using psychologists in different sectors. In other words, we're going to create wealth in sectors and try to retrain, to re-entrepreneur according to different sectors. Once we look at the business lines, the product, the market, and the geographical location, then we'll see if the customers are receptive, what communication will we use, and what markets do we want to get into. And this adaptation to this new business model is slow. But what does slow mean during a crisis? It's absolute speed. We can't stop. We have to risk. We have to have an agile situation. We can use the divestment. In other words, the sale of assets that aren't profitable or business units. And this means injection of liquidity for the future. And that's going to be, this will help us to become re-entrepreneurs and to remake our business. Strategic change. We always have to have a vision, a mission, and the values of the company. Once we've analyzed that, then we need to reinforce that, because on that basis, we're going to sign commercial agreements with customers. We have to have customers happy. We have to be flexible. We have to provide, we have to stress the aggregate values of the company and work on our competitive advantages. This study of inventory that goes together with all of this. In other words, to keep the inventory, to provide services for my customers, and not tie up money in inventory that I can use for something else. There's also going to be a change in personnel. There has to be of communications. There have to be new technology. Digitization will help us to change strategy. There has to be change in working capital. Working capital is the financial solvency of the company. And here we have two parts. We have time and the payment terms. And there's an effective cycle and an operational cycle. The operational cycle is from when I receive the merchandise and when I get paid for it. And effective is the same, but after we subtract the time lag in receiving payment. So when financing without debt, so the payment policies have to be well thought out, because this is a source of financing for the entrepreneur. Also, our billing, and we need to analyze all of those processes doing this financial plan time. Now, the change in financial strategies, we have to look at real possibilities. I'm not going to risk anymore. I'm going to have a certain amount. And I have to look at alternatives, like aside from the time and the cost and the evolution. I have to bear in mind that there could be, we could use our own funds or use new shareholders that come in with their liquidity. and we have to maybe divest in those assets that are non-strategic to have more liquidity. And then we have financing like crowdfunding. We have funding like venture capital funding, crowd lending, crowd factoring. All of these are private investment financing. And in times of crisis, well, there's crowd lending, which is a loan from people to companies. This is more profitable because it works like a bank. It's not like crowdfunding where they want to become shareholders. And we also have to talk about the generation of liquidity, cost structuring. And I want to give 10 recommendations for this time of restructuring. Let me see if I can find the paper here. 6 are reactivation and 5 for transformation. The first, in terms of companies, we need to foster measures for new companies or newly created companies from the part of the institutions to slow down this closure of small and micro companies and stimulate the growth of new companies in a state of normality with a social impact. Employment. We know employment is a precarious situation where salaries are being cut, there are layoffs, and these micro companies are suffering from this directly. We need to take radical decisions. Not everything can be classical work. We have to think of online work. We need flexibility, administrative flexibility, the involvement also of the institutions to foster and provide instruments and unify standards on the digitization of all of the public administrations. Why? Because if not, we won't receive the aid or the different. All these things can hurt young companies. We need to take advantage of the skills of entrepreneurs now more than ever. We need to retain entrepreneurs that have the organizational capacity. Re-entrepreneurship is one of the new facets of that governments need to address. And also promote spin-offs and spin-ins. The university forms part of this whole process, this whole ecosystem of entrepreneurship and re-entrepreneurship. There are business opportunities. We need to recompose these companies. We need to take this new situation to mold our companies. New forms of financing. And also aid, state aid. Now, also, this crisis is also going to change the concept of business. There's going to be co-investment. It's not going to be just the private investor who's helping this entrepreneur, but also there has to be a co-investment. The private investor with other figures like the business angels that have come out now, or venture capital. And new solutions for new problems. And we need to continue with the new innovations that could generate new jobs. Digitization, as I mentioned, is absolutely essential. And just to finish up, the union of the state and the university. The state has to assume risk as a company, and the entrepreneur has to provide the ideas, the companies provide the capital, and the university then provides the talent. I hope I've given you at least a few points for a little bit of food for thought, and the idea is to make all of this reality through our observatory and disseminate it for the best operation of entrepreneurs and those that want retraining. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Pedro. You've tackled all the key points about entrepreneurship, telling us how and when you have to make that decision to retrain. This third part we are going to talk about is retraining, thanks to Alfonso Martin. Alfonso Martin represents what we call CEAGE. He's the president of the Young Entrepreneurship Association of Zamora. We have 56 associations of young entrepreneurships throughout Spain. gathering 18,000 Spanish entrepreneurs, and this is the strength of our association, of our organization. They are the courageous people that decide to materialize the idea they have in their head, and we have very good case studies we have to be proud about. These organizations that, as I mentioned, are those gathering young entrepreneurs in Spain play a key role. And Antonio Martin is the president of AGE, of this organization in Zamora, and he knows the reality of young entrepreneurs on the field in Spain. So he is in charge of training. Training is the toolbox we provide entrepreneurs so that they can have better ideas and carry them out, implement them. So, Alfonso, the floor is yours. Thank you very much. Good morning and good afternoon or good evening for those of us watching us from Latin America. Thank you, Fernando and Jose Carlo, and congratulations for launching this observatory thanks to the partnership with CEAGE. You've worked a lot on this project, and now we have it here. I would like to thank your team and everybody at CEAGE that works on the development of our project. We've talked about entrepreneurship, we've talked about retraining, and in the end, I think that this is a common project. You do not have to re-entrepreneur in order to retrain, because managers and workers have to keep in mind that we have to continue training all the time and that we have to act. In the field of retraining and training, we often see that entrepreneurs think that training is a cost and not an investment. We, as managers, continue to work on our training. We continue to grow professionally, but we have to think about our workers too, because very often we go to events and we go to different places and we see that we have a problem in terms of attracting people, attracting workers, recruiting people, because we haven't been able to request the necessary training, to provide the necessary training to people to be capable of doing what they have to do, because we need qualified people within our companies. We talked about AGE and about the Confederation of Young Entrepreneurs, and in our confederation, our intention is to provide advice to all young entrepreneurs, to provide mentorship. We talk to young people on a daily basis, young people who are very enthusiastic, and we also see young people who do have the economic resources in place in order to carry out their plan. Some don't even have a business plan, they just have an idea and they just want to launch it, but they lack the resources. And sometimes a dream can fail because a business idea might not work out well due to the lack of resources or to the lack of advice, and you can go bankrupt. And therefore, training is absolutely key. At our confederation, CEAGE, we have worked a lot on training. We are committed to a big training center at regional and state level, and we are also committed to accompanying companies, for example, the lawyer's office of my colleague here to my right. And what we are doing is to help people implement their projects. And we are seeking an alliance between Spanish entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs abroad in Latin America, preferably. These projects that sometimes just don't work out here in Spain because some people have few opportunities here to carry out their projects, but in Latin America, they can be fulfilled and they can be successful and fulfill their dreams. But when we talk talk about entrepreneurship, we have to keep in mind that training is absolutely key. Sometimes setting up a project, an entrepreneurship project, has to be linked to specific training, and that specific training just doesn't exist very often, because when we provide capital to a company, training to carry out other projects, that is important. That is what we promote at CEAGE. Both we provide or we foster both face-to-face training and digital training. We will go back to our old life with face-to-face training as well, but digital and e-learning is absolutely key, because what we do is to train people who are carrying out new projects in order to be in the market. And we keep in mind the needs of each project and each individual.
Much, Alfonso. I think that Jose Luis doesn't need any presentation. He's very known. He's an economist well known in Spain, and especially he's a good friend of the young entrepreneurs. He's always been with us to provide his point of view, his analysis, and I think it's a very correct analysis. The economy is never easy to analyze, but Jose Carlos, in making his presentation, he's a professor at the University of Alcalá. He's one of the founders of an investment fund, so he's an entrepreneur as well. And Jose Carlos his blog is well known as well. And he's really a benchmark for entrepreneurs, not only in Spain, but also in Latin America. This facet, his Latin American facet, they have this, he works in development of entrepreneurs in Latin America. And in his last book, he talks about that as well. He wants young people to take initiative to become entrepreneurs and to contribute. So I want to give Jose Carlos the floor so that he can tell us how he can help with entrepreneurship in the society. Thanks very much. It's always a pleasure. Spain is not an easy country for young people, especially right now. We have two tough crises. Two economic crises in 12 years. We haven't recovered from the first one, and then we had this second one. It has affected employment, salaries, the difficulty of getting a job, to find housing. Just the other day, and at the university, we published a report from the Bank of Spain. And the situation of young people is not simple, so we need to support CEAGE and FIGE in these types of acts. So it's a pleasure to be here and to be in Madrid platform. So I support this initiative because I think that I want it to become more consolidated. We are in a new period after a very dark period of multilateralism and so forth. And Trump wanted to end this United Nations and also the Atlantic Treaty of Defense in Europe. But when it looks like the inevitable will happen, we get a surprise, and now we have a 78-year-old person who is revolutionizing the United States. A silent revolution, really, but it's a new paradigm in the United States, and he maintains his distance with China. He hasn't taken down anything that Trump built in terms of confrontation with China. He has broken down all barriers with Europe, and so it fits very well in the world geopolitics, and the Atlantic is positioning against China. Maybe too strong leadership from the United States. Europe should take more leadership there, but at least things are changing, and we'll see what the Biden positions will be in Latin America. We have Antonio and Mr. Campero that are looking at that, but for the time being, he hasn't given any sign in terms of Latin America. Soon we'll see, because it's an area where the United States has to take a position, in the view that we have in Madrid or Spain of the Atlantic is quadrangle. We need to include Africa, because the Chinese, both in Latin America and in Africa, they want to take their position, and they're very active in investing and financing investment in those two continents. So I think Biden and the U.S. administration, the sooner they take a position, the better. But while we're waiting, in the meantime, Spain, especially Madrid, has this great access to Latin America for Europe, and for us, it's a very important position in Europe. So Europe needs to defend its relationship with Latin America, its economic relationship, but also cultural and geopolitical. And therefore, this initiative is very, very welcome and very much focused on what I think should be, and congratulate the Observatory and the Martin Molina Lawyers Group, with this new adaptation to the new economic era of global economy. I looked for retraining, recycling, and they only talk about recycling of garbage and so forth. But this is a recycling or retraining of people. We need to adapt them to changes, and it's a technological change which is huge. I think it's unprecedented. I think it even surpasses the Industrial Revolution. The smartphones, the drones, image recognition, everything is moving so fast, and the perception, I think, then of the citizens, they're a little bit exhausted. The society goes a little slower than technological change, and policies are a little bit slower than the society, and regulation and the laws are behind that. So everything moves in cycles, so this recycling is much slower than we would like, and we need to adapt at the level of entrepreneurs. We use this word, any person can be an entrepreneur. You don't have to be a business person. You can be a child can be an entrepreneur, really, but if you're a business person, then you have to be an entrepreneur. There's a certain code you have to meet. You might have some capital from your family and not necessarily be an entrepreneur, but in capitalism, there's certain codes, and a business person has to be an entrepreneur. Now, an entrepreneur has to be, as Alfonso and Martin said, they have to be constantly retraining. Now, in my organization, the way we see this, we are in an area where there's very little investment in Spain or in Latin America. We're going to have the first fund here and replicate the model in Latin America. We're in a segment where there is quite a bit of money in Latin America, not in all the countries, but in startups. We have people that know this market really well, that we need to foster this market, but it's a market that is not that likely to transform into investment and employment, which has an impact on the society and has a transforming impact, and what really, at the end of the day, differentiates in technological innovation from economic development. We're more focused in the United Nations to economic development. The startup is important, but 9 out of every 10 startups fail. It's very complicated. In addition to capital, you have to have a lot of skills. It's not easy, and not everyone has all of those skills. So if you don't, you have to realize that from the very beginning, because then your family will suffer less with your bankruptcy and so forth. Not everyone can be a business person. So when you are a business person, there are many different categories. A great economist of innovation, he talks about the innovating business person who does embraces transformation, but it doesn't have to be high cutting-edge technology. But it's something disruptive, however, in the market that changes the supply conditions and where consumers see new opportunities, meeting new opportunities, or satisfying their needs in different ways with these new companies. I think that that's the big opportunity, this technological change. There are a lot of risks, of course, in this retraining. I'm not too optimistic in retraining. An analogical company, and I've experienced this, it's very difficult to become digital. It's like changing the four tires of your car while it's running. And now to start off as a digital business person, yes, but in other words, to start from zero in a digital project and become an entrepreneur. In Spain, we have experiences and we have important technological companies. We have Telefónica. Telefónica is not a technological company, unfortunately. It provides services and it sells services. It's a very good company. It sells very well. And it also has a vintage logo type now, talking about the change from this analogical company in the past. So we're working, however, with companies that are starting at the bottom, that have started, that they showed that they know how to sell, they know how to contact customers, they compete with their competitors, and they can go outside of our borders and go to Latin America, which would not easy, going into the Asian American markets as well, and offer our support to customers on the other side of the Atlantic to expand internationally and through Spain. So we really are a platform, and we have this spirit of a platform. So I congratulate the observatory and encourage all business people and entrepreneurs who are watching or listening to not be afraid. You only should be fearing fear. In other words, when you feel that there's uncertainty, all of your competitors are feeling the same uncertainty. No one knows where the technological trends are. Those that will survive are the ones that adapt and are most flexible. Those that are able to identify the opportunities. And I think the observatory is what we need to foster, because that's where opportunities are generated, the whole economy. So we need to support this observatory. So it's a pleasure to be with all of you, and congratulations. Let's see if we are working together, we can make some big accomplishments. Thanks very much. I think now we're going to go to talk about the 3 cases of success, the 3 success stories. Thanks very much to all 3 of you, to Fernando, Pedro, and Alfonso, and Juan Carlos. Just a few ideas from this panel, that the many ideas. We could be talking about these for a long time. We're talking about new opportunities coming out of the crisis, where we need to retrain ourselves. This retraining is not so much retraining, but sometimes we have to start out with new businesses focused on digital. The new skills are basic, are important, and I don't know if you agree with me, but I think that we all share the idea that the society progresses along, not exponentially. So a lot of things to think about. We need 5 minutes to adapt to the COVID protocol here, but we'll be back in 5 minutes with these success stories, which are extremely interesting. Thanks very much. Back in 5 minutes.
So here we go again. It's nearly lunchtime here in Madrid, but now we have a new session in order to see how these dreams come true, dreams by entrepreneurs. And thanks to a new and good business plan, these dreams just come true, and we get consolidated and viable companies. We have several guests now representing these companies. We have Pedro Martín Molina. He's the CEO of Martín Molina Lawyers and Economists. Please, Pedro. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, this is the second part of our event, that is having a look at the practical side, to see the reality, how ideas just come true, ideas that become a company, considering the risk that Juan Carlos mentioned before, companies that have made a difference as compared to the rest of the companies in the market. The first company, I'm going to introduce Ismael. We talked about digitalization. Many companies go digital in very specific sectors, but digitalization had to be taken to smaller places, to the so-called abandoned part of Spain, to the parts of Spain where there are very many small entrepreneurs, hairdressers, butchers, people that with the help of their town halls and municipalities have been able to go digital. Ismael has a very close relationship to us, together with Eduardo. Eduardo was my student at university, so I feel very close to both of them. I really love their project because one of my students at university has made a difference in the market. I've taught at university for 25 years, so it's great to have him as an example. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Pedro has supported us since the beginning, both my partner, Eduardo Serrano, so it's great to have our professor here today. With AGE, with the Association of Young Entrepreneurs, I had a very strong relationship for many years now. We learned a lot. At the beginning, we talked about very many different initiatives, and now I'm going to talk to you about what we've done at Social Go. I don't want to talk only about my company. I would like to talk about what we have learned during these last few months. We started working in August last year. We set up our company. I hope you find my talk interesting. Ismael Teijon. I've devoted many years of my life to setting up companies, startups, digital companies. I've founded Demon Startups, a business incubator. We sought business talent. We looked for great entrepreneurs. There were 400. We picked 10, and we launched their ideas into the market. What happened in this process? We launched 35 companies which have continued to grow, and the global value in the market is over 200 million. We worked with many entrepreneurs. We learned a lot. There were very talented people, so I learned a lot. After that, I started to apply everything that I have learned regarding new technologies, new digital platforms, to apply everything to traditional companies. So I worked with different restaurants, legal firms, and those restaurants started to grow and grow. We set up a gourmet shop during the pandemic that is now has a turnover of over 4 million euros. Sometimes for SMEs it was very difficult to go digital, and that is when the pandemic came. And then I began to think, what can I do in order to help SMEs to change their business model? So I decided to set up Social Go. It is a marketing and digitalization agency or company for SMEs. We set up this project, and I wanted to do it in a different way. I used to teach in different universities and business schools, and I knew quite a lot about entrepreneurship. So I wanted to share my knowledge with the rest of the world, and that is why I set up the Unicorn in Quarantine, the Quarantine Unicorn. The Unicorn is a company with a turnover, with a business volume of over 1 billion. So I started to set up videos with marketing, how to set up teams, how to make investments. I set up these learning pills and shared everything, a fully transparent model, because I would share all my knowledge. People would tell me, you are absolutely crazy because people are going to copy your ideas. But I really thought that we had to share everything. So I started to record a video clip every day. I didn't have time to get bored during our lockdown. The impact was huge. We were on TV, many interviews. We hired 9 people during the pandemic. And lessons learned. Digital karma. It's like karma with a bigger impact. If you give value to people, you're going to receive a lot. And therefore, there were many SMEs and people who wanted to work with us, but we got requests by entrepreneurs, by people who wanted to invest, and sometimes people who were in trouble saw one of our videos and came to us and began to feel motivated and enthusiastic about doing something different. So we would provide them with the necessary tools. We got over 200 requests from SMEs working from home. We were in lockdown. We just couldn't reply to all companies that came to us. So we started to set up a team. Here we have Eduardo Serrano, the student. I've done a lot since then, and we set up a dream team. I wanted to work with talented people. It was a beautiful process, and we have continued to grow. We've had up to 25 people in our team, even people on a voluntary basis who wanted to help SMEs, freelancers. Now the team is made of 18 people. What have I learned? Well, I thought I knew a lot about managing human resources and teams, and then the pandemic struck us. We thought we were very modern, we had Zoom, we had everything, but everything changed due to the pandemic. How do you measure the performance of the team while you are in lockdown? I only knew 2 of the people in the team. The rest, I just worked with them on the internet. I had never met them face to face. So we had to start working remotely. And working remotely presents opportunities and also challenges. First of all, you have to be very well organized. We work with OKR, defining objectives, the way Google does. This is quite good for startups. Things can change at any time. OKR is very interesting. We also work with a different methodology called Agile, with weekly planning, sprints, daily meetings. In the end, what we know is the task of each member of the team and each member of the company, and we can check the performance of each person. We hold different meetings, but people work whenever they can, because some people are working from Latin America in a different time zone. We are planning a trip to Bali right now with different members of the team. We are looking for a building in Bali in order to work with different people, because decentralization plays a key role. And then corporate culture. This is absolutely key. The rules of the game are changing. Social networks are not are not enough. Innovative companies have the best people, the best talent, and you get the best talent when you take care of your team. So the happiness of each member of our team is absolutely key. And of course, when it's your birthday, you have your day off, and we do a lot of things. We have different games. We meet to have fun. And this way, the best people, the most talented people want to join our company. When we started with all these, people would call us from everywhere in Spain. What can we do to go all over Spain? I started working in Madrid, then I went to Valencia, close to the coast, which is much better in order to work close to the sea. So we started to think, if we have a company which is centralized in Madrid, how can we provide services to small bakeries, small legal firms, small hairdressers in different places in Spain? But this is our idea, our dream, a digitalization agent that goes all over the place. So we set up a franchising system. We would go and look for someone who had talent in order to provide training and give him or her the necessary tools in order for him or her to help all the SMEs in their area. And therefore, having a trusted person that helps you in your small town or in your small city is a great way in order to grow much faster, so that people would have an efficient system. These are the first agents we work with. They have trained many people, and then we saw a way to get to the people, to small towns. It's been called the Amazon of the people, the Amazon of small villages. So we've talked to different municipalities that wanted to promote businesses in their municipality, and we set up a platform so that all SMEs can join the platform and acquire more visibility and start selling their products. That is much easier than setting up 200 shops in just one small town. We have this platform, and this combination, that is the best technology and the best people, our digitalization agents have made a difference. And thanks to that, we have become a channel to reach SMEs. And people come to us and tell us, I want to include my software in your platform, because there is always someone helping the rest of the people, accompanying young entrepreneurs. So we would go to small villages and we would say, this is the training you have to follow. Connect to Zoom. I will tell you everything you have to know. I met 187 mayors from home during the lockdown. Unthinkable. At the beginning, some mayors would tell me, please tell us all about it. This is my cell phone. There are 10 people listening to you. But then we started to see that some people just didn't use email. And we started to rethink everything. How can we reduce the digital gap? Because some people don't even use the email. So when a client starts working with us, he goes onto the platform and gets training on digitalization and marketing. And people who have less knowledge can get training and see that you can start to put your products on the platform and start selling things. And because there is a very big opportunity. There are very many European funds for digitalizations. There are many institutions that want to promote digitalizations and platforms such as ours. And then we learned something else, the momentum, the importance of launching our model in a very difficult situation for companies, because entrepreneurs always see opportunities, and digitalization is an opportunity. Well, things are never that easy, but we try to make things easy for everyone. So we launched a few products that were very good for SMEs, but SMEs had a lot of uncertainty. They just couldn't pay, for example, for the use of the web page. So we changed a few things, and we started to provide logo types. We provided different toolkits for just 99 euros. They can start working on the platform very, very cheap. We continue to work and change. Technology helps us to be efficient, and scale economies are also very important. Imagine we have 50 digitalization agents, which in turn have their own customers, and in the end we have economic scale, and we can keep our prices low. High impact in social media and also in national media. The other day we were at a major TV channel, and they talked about me, referring to me as an entrepreneur that went to live close to the sea in order to help different entrepreneurs. So we started with that a few hundred euros, and now we are helping out a lot of people. In order to have impact on the media, first of all, you have to have an aim. You have to believe in what you do. We want to help SMEs because we think that the internet is key for all the people we help. We all have the same vision, so our aim is absolutely key. And we have to provide value. We have to try to help people. You don't just have to sell your products, you have to do other things, and you have to be original and creative. Our videos were very creative, and we got a very high impact. We will send you a copy of the presentation. We will share the presentation. We wanted you to be able to take something home. We wanted to provide a 30% discount in all our services, and the first 10 people who register will get free consulting on digitalization. We are always willing to help. And to conclude, I wanted to tell you that I've talked to you about the different hurdles that we have overcome, because when you do something which is innovative, disruptive, there are many challenges. The most important thing is that every week you find a different problem, a different hurdle. And that's the way you learn, because you keep on solving things, and that is the way to progress. So thank you. Thank you very much. I hope my presentation has been helpful. Thank you.
So we'll continue now with another two young people that created a more global initiative. They began small, and now they're on several different continents. As Ismael said, with permanent challenges, problems that they resolved as they arose, and those that are here are entrepreneurs. And now, what is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur, I think, is born taking risk, controlled risk, with the know-how, with people who know. There are many different projects. I like to train, create, write. So every day there's something new to learn. So now we're going to give the floor to Afilia Go, to two people, Diane and Adrian, who will talk about their experience. And I'm very thankful to them that they came. And we're going to give the floor that they're going to talk about their project now. So, good afternoon to everyone. My name is Adrián, and my colleague is also Adrián. As you heard, we began to our origins were to solve a problem. There was a global problem in searching for customers in our marketing and using advertising, and companies had their marketing budget to find customers, and globally, because our customers are usually large companies. And what we did is, well, there was a lot of publicity campaigns and trying to find global customers, but that budget wasn't really being effective in terms of the results. It was being diluted into abstract advertising campaigns on the television and the radio, and really didn't translate into customers. So what we created was Afilia Go. This is a company we work through afiliago.com, and it's really a network of affiliates. And what we do is publish on our platform campaigns, publicity campaigns from other companies and through internet, and owners of internet channels like blogs or web pages with traffic, and that are interested and specialized in the object of these advertising campaigns. Then we can promote those in their own channels so that we remunerate them for the customers that they can bring to our businesses. So this is an affiliate program. So we saw the situation of marketing and affiliation before we came, and it was a complex system that practically no one was aware of, no one knew how it worked. And with an internet channel, anyone who had an internet channel had to contact customers. Not all of the customers had these affiliate programs, and it was very complicated. So what Affiliate Go did in Spain and Latin America, especially Spain, Mexico, Peru, Chile, Colombia, is we democratized this type of marketing. We situated ourselves as intermediaries between the companies that have their affiliate programs that want to capture customers through affiliation, and then we offered these campaigns to everyone, absolutely everyone, who has a channel with organic traffic. So in that sense, where we changed the rules of the game a little bit in the world of digital marketing, and specifically in affiliation, is to democratize these affiliation campaigns, allowing anyone with a blog as a hobby maybe, or that has visitors, has the opportunity to monetize their blog or their web page or their channel through the promotion of campaigns of the operators of the companies that are our partners. So that's how Affiliate Go was born. The entrepreneur has to find a problem, first of all, and then start to think of how to solve it. Until we created this affiliate program, the platform, and the whole structure and infrastructure to create this, well, We ran into many problems that we had to solve over the weeks. Sometimes you go to bed late and you wake up early. Well, anyway, the life of an entrepreneur, that's what it is. It's finding a problem, not resting until you find the solution. That's basically what we've been doing. I'm going to give the floor now to my colleague. Hello. Yes, the idea that Adrian just talked about is that online marketing, the budgets were quite generalistic in sense, and the marketing is an alternative for companies to do much more effective marketing. Remuneration is for sales or affiliations. AffiliateGo, we'll talk a little bit about the tools that we use. AffiliateGo is a platform where you have sellers and commercial agents of those campaigns. And through AffiliateGo, then there are a series of tools to help with this whole process. The first thing that we detected when we created AffiliateGo was that the graphic design and many channels was not very professional due to the appearance of the channel. Maybe they had photographs. It wasn't very professional. So we have a tool called Design and Go. This can be used. You can use these pre-designed images and then change them. Another need that we discovered was how people without businesses or channels, how can they receive payments through their customers or sales of their digital products. And so we created PayGo. PayGo is a platform that's used. So each person can create this mini platform just for themselves. So in other words, a web page, or you might have a profile on Instagram, for example, and since the agent doesn't have this possibility of charging or selling digital products, with PayGo you can create this mini platform to sell those digital products at very low cost. In this presentation, we did this some time ago when we created AffiliateGo. This just to give you an idea of what the orientation was at that time. Anyway, these are other tools. These are the objectives that we had, the long-term objectives. And we have MyGo, AdGo, and SiteGo. MyGo is a way, it was a social network, all the sector that connected all of the agents. AdGo was the possibility to exchange advertising between different channels. And SiteGo is a very powerful tool that creates web pages in just a few minutes. So of these three, since we've only been around for a year and a half now, SiteGo is our most recent update. So we don't have the videos here so that you can see how it works, but SiteGo is a tool that each agent can create a web page in just a matter of 10 minutes to work in affiliation marketing. We don't have any more material to show you, but we're going to explain a little bit about the growth of AffiliateGo that we've had since October 2019. In October 2019, and then throughout 2020, That's when we tested the platform. And in 2020, we had a turnover of 150,000 euros, something like that. And we wanted to reach 1,000 affiliates. Now we're at 2,500 affiliates, and we've had important growth, especially since January of this year. And we've gone from more than 2 million of turnover in 2021 since January. In visits, I think it's 2 million hits, 2 million visitors that we've had, and affiliates, as I said, about 3,000 affiliates now. One of the problems that we're seeing is that the campaigns of our announcers were used to be on social networks or on Telegram, on those types of platforms. And one of the problems that we saw at the beginning was that the big conversion through these channels, in other words, practically one visitor, one channel, one click on the link of the affiliate became a sale. This meant that the announcers, the advertisers, preferred more organic traffic, organic visits to generate movement, not only a visit and a sale, but also other types of movement to share, to make a post, to talk about their products. And that's when SideGo arose. And SideGo, we brought that up about 1 month ago. And as Adrian said, this is a possibility that an affiliate has to create a web page just in a matter of 10 minutes. And with that, we wanted to professionalize the affiliation. So if I have a Telegram account, for example, with 300,000 followers, then if I wanted to change the model and work with a serious web page with a corporate image that we know how to make, and all of these web pages also have the possibility of working in SEO positioning. So they return to Affiliate Go, but they're autonomous web pages, and therefore what we've achieved here, there are hundreds of web pages created using this tool, both in Spain and Latin America. And the affiliate then has now become used to a better sales system through blogs, talking about finding information, talking about it in their blog, offering those articles, offering their products. And so we've been able to generate around all of our advertisers more organic traffic. That translates at the end of the day into sales practically in all of Latin America and all of Spain. And so, as we said before, small problems arise that we are solving, and this is our way to contribute to this, to marketing, by democratizing it so that anyone who has an internet channel to promote campaigns and to get to qualification of this internet traffic and turn it into sales, and to close the circle in terms of the affiliation marketing. And many companies that didn't know that this marketing existed and only made announcements in the newspaper or the television in their city or their country now know that there is an area in digital marketing, which is the affiliation marketing, where they're not going to have to dedicate a big budget to that and lose a lot of money because you pay for each sale that is made. So you know that if you invest X amount of money, that X amount of money necessarily is going to become effective sales in their business. So that's basically what we've done and what we contributed to the globalization of businesses, and our way to contribute to the digital world, and in a healthier manner, I think, where the entrepreneur can optimize their resources. And so that's the role of Affiliate Go and the internet marketing. And that's everything. Thanks very much. Thanks to Alfonso, who's been helping us to present this project. And Everything is on internet. Anyone that is thinking about creating a new business, what I would recommend is to explore the world of internet, find latent problems that are still missing optimum solutions, and get in there and use this open sea, which is the internet, to solve these problems. And so everyone who is thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, I would say two things. One, not just being an entrepreneur, working in your city or country, but you can contribute really to the prosperity of the society through what you do. And the world of internet is still a world where its doors open for everyone. It's extremely democratic, where there's space for absolutely everyone. So thanks very much for your attention. Now we're reaching the end of this meeting of entrepreneurs with a platform and a way to see training, a different way to see training. It's true that being an entrepreneur is something you always think about success, but we're listening to the society now. People talk about the second chance. The second chance in Spain is regulated in a way that it's uncomfortable and almost impossible to get that second opportunity in Spain. So if we are entrepreneurs, we have to be born again with excitement, and the challenges are when someone stumbles, because you learn from what you were doing, and then the experience then is extremely important. Now, in this experience as a university teacher was from the pandemic. The pandemic came online with the students, so this was something novel. The universities had to adapt to online education, to running those classes online, where the teachers were not used to doing that, where the platforms at the university had needed to be improved. But adapting to that, a company arose that created a new, even before the pandemic, to do this distance learning for those that were preparing their formal examinations, job examinations. So this was before the pandemic. Then it became stronger during the pandemic. And I'm going to now introduce a good friend, a person who I've seen grow, and since I've seen them grow, that person is there due to his own merits. Alejandro is here then to take over.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to thank Madrid Platform, first of all, for this invitation. Pedro, you've always been very nice to me, and you've always been very close to the whole team of Startlach, and I would like to thank my team too. Part of my team is here, Jesus and Maria, and many other people are watching us from Spain and Latin America, and I would like to thank you all for giving us the opportunity to be with us in such an important event. What is Startlach? Well, in order to understand Startlach, we have to get on board a time machine and go back in time 20 years. When I was at the Law University in Barcelona, I had an idea. I did the following. I enrolled in the second and third course at university with optional subjects. Many people told me it was very complicated to attend courses that way. I didn't do very well in the first year, but my parents supported me. And afterwards, I had to find study techniques in order to improve my performance and study the least possible and achieve the best results. Years after that, time proved that I was right. I would read a lot on different techniques, and through trial and error, I found an interesting solution. I finished my career a year before the rest in order to get my law degree. After that, I had an opportunity to prepare for a competitive examination. I am a state lawyer, and I had to face a bigger challenge this time. 263 different subjects that had to be studied. There were oral exams, so you have to be among the best in Spain, otherwise you would be out of the selection. So I continued to study and to work at the same time. I had to work a lot on memorizing things because I didn't have so much time, and I made many mistakes, but I continued to work. I was one of the youngest in my cohort of students. And then I started working in different courts of justice, first in Barcelona, then in Arona, in the south of Tenerife. And after that, I started to work in Madrid and working on social issues, and now on the Court of First Instance in Madrid. I've also been very fortunate because many people have trusted me, have helped me. And all this process of trial and error went a bit further because my knowledge increased gradually. And therefore, in 2019, we set up Start Lag. So we started to professionalize the training for people who wanted public employment, and we started to become one of the best providers of advice for people to prepare competitive examinations for state positions. We are specialized in the field of justice, and we are #1 company preparing people who wish to pass the competitive examination in order to become state lawyers. And why is that? Thanks to our method. It's not only about training the individual, it's about combining very many different ingredients in order to prepare people appropriately so that they could pass the exam and get a state position. So I started to mix all ingredients. So Start Lag is created so that people, individuals, can achieve their objectives, keeping in mind at all times that the focus is on the person that relies on you, and not on the person that is teaching you. And we changed the world of competitive examinations. Our company has been a breakthrough because we've looked for something different to change the lens of those people who look at us. When you have a challenge, you are wearing some special type of lenses, of glasses. And then sometimes people are pessimistic and we make them become optimistic. If I ask you, are you pessimistic? Most of you would say no. But if I would ask you, how many of you are realistic? Many of you would raise their hands. So pessimistic people usually think they are realistic, but when you go for a competitive exam, you are an entrepreneur because you have to think, I am realistic, but in reality you are pessimistic. When you want to be entrepreneur, you cannot only be realistic. You have to be optimistic. You cannot be pessimistic and say we are realistic. You have to be optimistic. And since 2019, we've helped over 4,000 people that were trying to pass a competitive exam. And those who embrace the philosophy of Reciclaje, change their view of the world, because we are talking about the elite of study. There's nothing above competitive exams. You have to be the best out of the best in order to pass a competitive exam. And we have changed many things in a very simple way. This is the title of my second book. It's in the freezer right now because I have to read it again, and then it will be printed once I make the decision. Less is much more. Less is much more. What do I mean by this? This entails the 7 keys to reach success, because we are talking about success today. We all want to be successful. When we talk with friends drinking something, we talk about success. We all want success, but there are some ingredients. We see a cook that has the right ingredients in order to have a good recipe. So we need to know the ingredients of success, and one of them is to know where you're heading, what makes you happy. Some people say, for me, work is money. What is your key guide? If you're not only focusing on money, then you have to find your purpose. We help you find what you actually want. And the second ingredient is to manage properly the need to be number one. We all want to be number one. But number one is a figure, it's a position that is not static. It changes over time. And sometimes people, when they start a company, they just stop. They think they're not being successful and they just quit. You have to continue working, and you have to understand that number one person 3 years ago perhaps wasn't even in the top 100. And then the third ingredient for success is to have a good mirror, or several good mirrors. Several people you can trust. People who have already climbed the mountain of success. People you can address and ask them, please tell me what you think about what I'm doing. You have to have good mirrors. People just don't know how to listen. The greatest entrepreneurs, people who are successful, are always surrounded by people they listen to. And the third basic ingredient is to understand that the people that surround us have expectations. So the people that surround us have expectations, big expectations, and sometimes we are afraid because we might not fulfill those expectations. And the way to success is sometimes difficult because 2 plus 2 doesn't always equal 4. And therefore, we have to understand that we should not be conditioned by people who surround us. The last 3 ingredients that I mentioned are absolutely key. And you have to do things slowly sometimes. Not everything has to be done quickly. Some people say that if you are riding a bike and you don't pedal, you just fall down. But that is not true, because sometimes you have to pause, you have to wait and see. And some people just don't understand what pausing means. That's why less is much more. You have to be able to pause and think. And then there is another key aspect to keep in mind. Everybody wants to do multitasking, do a lot of things. Instead, you have to do one thing right. Two, at the right time, because if you start doing 35 different things, in the end, you will not be number one in all 35 things. And in order to be successful, you have to be among the best. Santiago Ramón y Cajal, the father of neuroscience, used to say something very simple. An error is not making a mistake. The worst thing is to justify a mistake. Making a mistake is normal, but you have to assess why you made a mistake. And some people systematically justify their mistake. They look for someone to blame or to justify their mistake. And then bad luck. Many people talk about bad luck. Bad luck plays a very minor role in success. And therefore, in our opinion, success is not linked to good luck nor to bad luck. Success is linked to what we do little by little, mixing all our ingredients. If you mix all the right ingredients, things will work out fine for you. At Reciclaje, we focus on three different study pillars. First one, neuroscience. In the world of competitive examinations, neuroscience has not played a leading role, but for us it does. For example, how you process an article in your mind, that has been studied by neuroscience, and therefore we have to include it in our toolkit. So when you talk about our brain limbic system, you have to know what it is about and how our brain works. And when you think about your amygdala, people shouldn't think that it's close to your throat. People should know that the amygdala is part of the brain. And there are certain functions in the brain that has been tested and proved to be good and efficient in order to promote learning. And therefore, people have to be passionate about what they do. That's why people come to us, and for us, technology is also very important. New technology. The internet has been with us for a long time now, and in the world of state examinations, competitive examinations, technology is key. We have SAM, a platform. The version 3.0 of SAM is nearly a reality. It will be launched in just 2 months. And we are focusing our efforts on gaming. That means if we learn thinking that we are playing, we will learn a lot because we will be having fun. So this concept of gaming is absolutely key. Learning, having fun, and motivation, which is very important for us. And some people might tell me, what about passion? No. You can build your passion and your enthusiasm. You have to be focused. If you don't have a clear focus, you're wasting your time. You have to find something you like and then focus on what you want and find the right motivation. Sometimes there are coaches that motivate people all the time. No. You have to motivate properly, with the right tools and to the right individuals, absolutely always. Not everyone can be an entrepreneur. Not everyone can be successful in competitive examinations. Not everyone can be a great cook. So, the key to success is not just to motivate. You have to identify your capabilities and then boost them, your skills and everything. And then there is a secret. There is a secret for platform. A secret that only our team members know. We are going to reveal this secret. Now, we are concentrated on helping individuals to reach their objectives. within the world of public positions. And we have received feedback from many people, and we have realized we can help many more people outside of the public sector and orientate our work to another sector. We are going to work on the concept of dream workers. We are going to help people make their dreams come true. We are not going to focus only on public competitive examinations. We are going to go one step further. We are going to reinvent ourselves. And Pedro, once again, we have the same view. We are going to reinvent the field. We are not going to help people who want to pass an exam. We want to help people who want a different position at work. How? We are going to offer two possibilities. The first one is to point at all things related to management of time and management of stress, basic management of stress, and management of emotions, because we all get emotional sometimes. But when you talk about companies, you talk about goods and services, you talk about figures, you talk about assets. No, not for us. We focus on all the aspects of the companies. We see companies through a different lens. We see companies made of people, companies made of emotions, and through those emotions we help people, because we are experts on working with people. We are experts on providing individuals the value added they need to make their company work. And that's why we want companies to be focused. And Startlag will deal with the rest of issues. Startlag will deal with the individuals, initially to see who are the ideal people to fulfill the objectives, and then the idea is to have a team, of course, but sometimes we are not objective when we are part of the team. So we need an external vision in order to see how we can improve. And we also provide our experience and our advice by combining advice on public work and private work. We cannot raise the salary of public employees or civil servants who have passed state examinations, but we can help both those who want a public employment and those companies who want to continue to improve in the private sector, focusing on what we consider absolutely key, which is individuals. And to conclude my presentation, I would like to address those people who were sometime in the past told this is impossible. I was also told that what I wanted to do was impossible. And I have a conclusion for all of you. When something is considered impossible, it means it will only take a bit longer, but you will make it. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Alejandro, and also to Pedro and the two Adrians, Ismael, for your success stories as entrepreneurs and inspiration for many people who are listening to us. We encourage everyone to continue following us at 4 o'clock Madrid time, when we'll come back with a seminar on the social impact. So, thanks to the Town Hall of Madrid and all of the other sponsors, collaborators, strategic partners, like the Martin Molina group of lawyers and all of the companies. Thanks so much for contributing to this Madrid hub. So I hope you're enjoying the first international business hub between Europe and Latin America. Thank you much. We'll see you back at 4 o'clock Madrid time.